Welcome to The Chosen Few, where in this episode, we take you back in time for one of the most audacious missions of all time. The year is 1940. Europe is on a knife edge. As Hitler's forces sweep westward, a single, immovable obstacle stands in the way of the entire German advance. Fortress Ében-Émael. Perched high above the Albert Canal, it commanded the vital crossing points leading directly into the heart of Belgium and northern France. It was not merely strong, it was considered impregnable. Imagine a mile of concrete and steel, sunk deep into a hill, capable of housing over 1,000 men. Its batteries included 75mm cannon, 120mm guns, and countless machine gun nests, all arranged to provide a withering, crossfire defense that swept every approach. North, south, and across the bridges. For any conventional army, conquering Ében-Émael meant months of brutal, costly siege warfare. The Allies were confident. The fort was a symbol of security. But for the German High Command, it was a choke point. A single, stubborn wall that had to fall on the first day of the offensive. The invasion of France and the Low Countries, known as Case Yellow, depended entirely on speed. The Wehrmacht could not afford to get bogged down in Belgium. The key targets, the bridges at Vrouwenhoven and Veldwezelt, were just kilometers away. But they were all under the unblinking, relentless gaze of Ében-Émael. If the main assault force was delayed even for a day, the bridges would be blown, Belgian and French reinforcements would flood the gap, and the entire momentum of the war would be lost. The problem wasn't a lack of manpower, the problem was, how do you attack a fortress when all its defenses are designed to protect against an attack from all round? The German answer was a desperate gamble, born of unconventional thinking. They would not attack the sides. They would not attack the front. They would attack the only vulnerable point. The solution was the DFS 230 glider, silent, untraceable, capable of landing a small force directly onto the fort's flat concrete cap. And they had a new weapon, the Holedung, the shaped charge, an explosive device designed not to blast, but to focus its force into a narrow, devastating jet of molten metal, capable of slicing clean through hardened steel. The mission was given to Sturmabteilung Koch, a specially selected group of airborne engineers and paratroopers. Their commander, Hauptmann Walter Koch, gave his men a single, chilling mandate: total surprise and total destruction. Only 85 men were assigned to this suicidal task. Fewer than 100 against 1,000 defenders. They were divided into 4 groups: steel for the bridges, iron and concrete for the flanks, and the most crucial unit, granite. So for this story, if you would like to pick a number between 1 and 85, then pop your answer in the comments. And we will see if you managed to survive the mission. The men of granite had the impossible job. They would land first, in darkness, and silence the fort's major guns within minutes. They would then be left alone, stranded on a roof over 1,000 enraged enemies, to hold their tiny, desolate position for up to 48 hours until ground forces could fight their way to them. Their mission was the ultimate act of operational faith. Their success meant the swift capture of Belgium and a path to victory in the west. Their failure meant immediate death, the loss of the Belgian bridges, and a potential collapse of the entire invasion plan. So let's join Hauptmann Walter Koch in the hangar as he addresses his troops. Men of Sturmabteilung Koch. Tonight you carry the honor of the airborne arm. 85 of you will strike the strongest fortress in Europe. Each of you has a task, each of you a place in history. Listen carefully. Your lives and the success of Germany depend on it. The air in the cavernous hangar was thick with the scent of aviation fuel and freshly oiled canvas. Koch's voice was sharp, cutting through the silence. The men sat rigidly, their faces reflecting the harsh electric lights overhead. For this mission, you have been divided into 4 groups: granite, steel, concrete, and iron. Koch detailed the objectives, the focus resting heavily on granite. Your objective is to land directly on the roof of Fort Ében-Émael and destroy the fortress's main guns with shaped charges. You will then hold the roof position until the main force arrives. Bear in mind, you may need to hold this position for up to 48 hours. Koch's final words echoed. Granite, you will silence the fortress itself. Without its guns, Ében-Émael is nothing but a tomb. The men rose from their benches. Feldwebel Wenzel, a squad leader in granite, moved with the mechanical precision of a veteran toward the equipment table. He picked up his primary shaped charge, a heavy, strangely delicate dome of explosives. As his callous thumb traced the metal casing, he felt a minute indentation. A shallow scratch he knew well. He was instantly transported back 2 months, to a dusty workshop where his younger brother, Hans, a nervous engineer with hands perpetually stained with oil, was complaining about the new charge design. Wenzel said, "It's too heavy, Wilhelm." "It's an anvil," Hans had muttered, pointing out that exact scratch. "The physics are sound, but the casing. It's a burden. It feels like an admission of failure that we need something so powerful." "We carry what we are given, Hans," Wenzel had replied, flexing his shoulders. Hans shook his head, looking Wenzel directly in the eye. "No, that weight you carry isn't steel. It's the future, the weight of what you're changing. Don't drop it, Wilhelm. Don't drop it." Wenzel blinked, returning to the hangar. He adjusted the charge carefully in his satchel, ensuring the firing pin was protected. He felt the gravity of Hans's words. The weight in his satchel was the weight of this war, concentrated into one terrifyingly effective weapon. He checked his sidearm, the cold metal a familiar contrast to the explosive heat he carried. Near Wenzel, Private Piet, barely 18, and on his first major mission, fumbled with his helmet strap. His hands were shaking, making the task of fastening the buckle impossible. He muttered an oath under his breath. A grizzled veteran named Schultz, silently checking his rifle nearby, noticed the boy's struggle. Schultz walked over, his boots silent on the concrete. He simply reached out and, with an economy of movement, adjusted the strap, cinching it perfectly beneath Piet's chin. "Breathe, kid," Schultz whispered, his voice dry as dust. "Too much tension, you'll chew through your tongue. That air you're taking in now is the last easy one you'll get for a while." Piet finally found his voice, a nervous squeak. "Schultz, what happens if we miss?" "The bridge groups. If we miss the guns." Schultz fixed him with a stare. "Then you die tired, Private. But you won't miss. You know your trajectory. You know your charge. You hit the concrete, and you hit it hard. No hesitation. You think about the job, not the consequences." Piet nodded, finding stability in the veteran's flat certainty. He took a deep, steadying breath, the unexpected kindness and the harsh truth stabilizing his rapidly beating heart. The gliders drifted silently through the night sky, 85 men held suspended in the dark. Inside the glider carrying Wenzel's squad, the only sounds were the creak of the wooden frame, the hiss of the air passing the canvas skin, and the rhythmic breathing of the men. In the cockpit, Oberleutnant Brandt stared into the blackness. He felt the massive Ju-52 above him release the tow cable with a decisive thump. Now, it was just the wind and his skill. The absence of engine noise was not peace, it was a screaming void. Brandt's left hand gripped the control stick, but his fingers were tightly curled around a small, smooth river stone, a good luck charm his wife had given him. He felt its cool, inanimate weight grounding him. The wind is a thief, stealing our sound. The enemy hears nothing. But it screams in here. It screams caution. We are too fast. Too silent. One mistake, one invisible gust, and 85 men become a stain on a field. They call us gods of the air, but I feel like a leaf, caught in a rapid current, carrying 85 lives, hoping to land them in one piece. The landscape below began to resolve into shapes. Fields, a river, and then a dark, vast, and silent mass. The fortress. At 4:25 a.m., the skids scraped across the rooftop, kicking up dust and a shower of sparks. The glider lurched violently, then stopped with a jarring finality. The doors were flung open, and the men of granite vanished into the dark. The rooftop exploded into chaotic action. Wenzel sprinted, his men scattering toward their assigned turrets. The first shaped charges erupted in thunderous blasts. Steel domes buckled, concrete shattered. The fortress's proud turrets were silenced in seconds. Smoke and dust rolled across the rooftop. Inside the fortress, Belgian gunners staggered from the shock. Confusion reigned. Radios crackled with frantic reports. Explosions on the roof. Enemy troops above us. Within minutes, the fortress's guns were silent. The roof belonged to the chosen few. They secured their perimeter, the initial adrenaline already draining away, replaced by the crushing weight of their isolation. The men crouched among the wreckage, rifles ready. The silence now was not the silence of the glider. It was a vast, heavy, and unnerving silence. The silence of a giant holding its breath. Below them, over 1,000 men remained trapped. The scent of ozone and burning materials was overwhelming. Hours passed. The sun rose, casting long, stark shadows across the ruined roof. Wenzel was setting a fresh spool of wire near a destroyed observation cupola. He peered into the wreckage. A twisted, smoking maw of steel. Tucked beneath a splintered beam, he saw a glove. A simple, wool-lined Belgian soldier's glove, torn open at the wrist. Wenzel stopped. He was a professional. He knew the cost, but the sight of that mundane item, stripped of its owner, struck him with a chilling intensity. Wenzel said to himself, the objective is achieved. The mission is flawless. But this is what victory tastes like. A shredded piece of ordinary life left behind. He knew he couldn't afford humanity now. He was responsible for the living. He kicked dust over the glove, obscuring the reminder, and forced his focus back to the perimeter wire. Vigilance was the only currency they had left. Every shadow was a Belgian counterattack. Every distant sound from below was the 1,000 trapped men finding a way out. He crawled between his men, checking their eyes for fatigue, rationing the meager water supply. The wait was the real battle. The isolation became a weight. By early afternoon, Piotr, hiding behind the twisted metal of a silenced cupola, was shivering uncontrollably despite the sun. He was exhausted, paranoid, and overwhelmed by the lingering smell of cordite. The concrete radiated a painful heat, but the fear kept him cold. His legs ached from being crouched for so long. He started nervously picking at a loose thread on the sleeve of his camouflage tunic. A small, subconscious habit he used to anchor himself. He picked and picked, concentrating fiercely on the tiny, meaningless act of dismantling the fabric of his own sleeve. Wenzel crawled over to him. He didn't mention the thread. He reached into his satchel, pulled out a piece of stale bread wrapped in oil paper, and shoved it into Piotr's hand. "Eat it," Wenzel commanded, his voice low. "Slowly. There are 1,000 men down there who wish they had our view, even if it is dusty. We have the high ground. The hard part is done. The waiting is the easy part. Stop picking at your uniform. Focus on the arc of that door." Piotr, grateful, began to chew the tough, dry bread. The silence amplified every sound, the slow, agonizing crunch of the stale crust, the swallow that felt like sandpaper. There was still the distant, muffled sound of movement from deep within the fortress. The sun began to set, painting the ruined rooftop in long shades of orange and blood red. Wenzel looked at Schultz, who was calmly cleaning the grime from his rifle bolt. "Isn't it ironic, Schultz?" Wenzel murmured. "We smashed the strongest fortress in Europe in minutes, only to spend hours waiting for someone to open the back door. They're probably making coffee down there, complaining the roof is leaking." Schultz cracked a smile, the first human expression Wenzel had seen all day. "Let them drink, Feldwebel. They're paying for the view." The men watched the dark consume the fortress walls again. They were alone. They were cold. But they were holding. The chosen few remained on the roof, isolated, watching, enduring. Every hour felt like a lifetime. They rationed ammunition and sleep. On the morning of May 11th, they heard the distinct sound of engines and tracked vehicles approaching from the west. Relief. German ground forces finally reached the fortress. Engineers and infantry linked up with the airborne troops. They're cheering a distant, surreal sound to the exhausted paratroopers. By 11:30 a.m., the Belgian garrison, over 1,000 men, surrendered. Wenzel stood among the wreckage, his men silent and victorious. The smell of explosives lingered. The silence was now finally complete. The sound of history being made. The assault on Ében-Émael became legend. A fortress thought impregnable, silenced in hours. A handful of men proved that airborne troops could change the face of modern war. For the chosen few, it was a mission of endurance, precision, and history. The cost. 6 German paratroopers killed, 20 wounded. They were exhausted, but their mission was complete. They had held the roof for more than 30 hours, and the victory was secured. With fame and glory comes a cost. The total cost for this mission was 6 lives. That's 6 mothers without sons, wives without husbands. Each of the 6 names you're about to see were the real heroes in this story, as they paid the total price for glory. Each has been assigned a number. Let's see if you are luckier than they were. So please join me in a moment to remember the real heroes. Gefreiter Hans Fortschi, Unteroffizier Erwin Haug, Unteroffizier Walter Held, Oberjäger Gerhard Jackel, Oberjäger Walter Kies, Gefreiter Ewald Stopp. Thank you for joining us for this episode, and we hope to see you all again soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe.